All right, we back. We back here with y'all again. We were just discussing. It's like, okay, we're about to go live, and I can't remember what we got to talk about. All right, everybody, welcome back. This is the Podcast Bros, a Podcast Bros production.
For sure.
My name again is Jermaine,
I'm Jay.
and we're here trying to spend some time talking about some things that we find interesting to us. And hopefully we have some people that feel the same way. Please feel free to share, like, comment, drop a question, uh, whatever you need to voice your opinion. It is not a platform that is one-sided. It's not for black, for white, for blue, for yellow. It's an everybody opinionated show. Eventually we're gonna grow and we'll try to do some different things. But for now, it's me and my guy over there. So these are opinions based on, our life, the things that we may or may not have experienced, conversations that we may or may not have had.
Right.
Sometimes we'll have some statistics for you. These will be statistics that anybody can go research for themselves, not our personal stuff, things that are, for public viewing.
Right.
All right. So we're here. Hope you can chill out with us and keep chilling out with us. And we're going to get bigger and bigger. The thing that we want to get into today, how much seems like it might be a big deal, but it's how much will I sacrifice for success?
That's a biggie. That's a biggie. That's a biggie. Because everyone has their own interpretation of success. And
yes, saying that. Hold on. Saying that before you dive into anything.
Okay.
Right? Here is an overview. Success in life is a subjective and personal concept, varying from individual to individual. And it generally refers to the achievement of goals and aspirations, whether they are related to career, personal life, or overall well-being. Ultimately, success is about aligning one's actions and goals with their values, leading to fulfillment and happiness. Right? So you have personal values, diverse goal depending on the individual, dynamic definition depending on the individual, because it can mean different things, like you were saying.
Right.
Goal achievement, fulfillment, and happiness, personal growth, positive impact, reliance, and adaptation. Those are all examples of what one might take into consideration when they go on that journey. Ultimately, success is a personal journey of self-discovery and fulfillment where individuals define their own path and strive to achieve their unique aspirations. That's a slight breakdown, but that's one aspect of success.
Right. And then there's the spiritual.
Correct. So
reference.
The spiritual side of it, so the biblical definition of success centers on faithfulness, obedience to God, and seeking His kingdom above all else, rather than worldly achievement. It involves aligning one's life with God's will, as evidenced by the Proverbs 3, verse 5 to 6, for those who want to look it up, which links success to trusting in the Lord and acknowledging Him in all the ways. Here are some key takeaways from this one, which is the biblical definition: seeking God's kingdom, faithfulness and obedience, living a godly life, eternal perspective, God's empowerment, stewarding gifts. In essence, biblical success is not merely about worldly achievements, but about life, living in accordance with God's will, and characterized by faith, obedience, and a focus on eternal values. Very two distinct definitions. So, go ahead, sir.
First thing, I want to speak to the 18-year-old who don't have a clue of what that is. Their ideal of success is totally different because their mindset is coming out of high school. Normally it's in sports. Normally it's in some kind of organization where they are where they are measured by how much acclaim or how many awards this particular person have achieved throughout that time. That could be considered success, right?
I can see that.
I also want to talk to the 25-year-old who probably looking at technology for a career, or looking at sports, or looking at things that will enhance their financial ability to do things that they want to do in life. One of the main things that I've learned over this time is you have to align your goals with what you are trying to achieve. And when you align those goals, or when you align your values in life, this is my value. My value is God first, family second, and business third. Whatever you line your values is how you will go into life achieving those success and those goals in life. I had to learn that the hard way because my my alignment was it was pretty much out of order. It was out of it was business first, then family, then God at the end. I was out of sync, right?
Why say you were out of alignment?
The reason
Give me that
why I
order.
was out of alignment because I didn't know anything else. I knew that God had to be in the forefront, had to be involved. I just didn't understand the alignment of where he had to be, right? I knew he had to be close.
Okay.
I just didn't know how close. Now, keep in mind, I'm in my early 20s, so I didn't have nobody telling me, Jonathan, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to focus. This is how you need to put things in perspective, right? So when I went to California to pursue my musical career, um, my main headline, my main goal in life was to put my career first. And then once I put my career first, maybe God came second, and then my family came third. It was the alignment was out of whack because I didn't understand the significance of aligning and why that's significant, because it plays a really big part when you are successful. How that will determine what you are willing to sacrifice later on in life.
So, okay. So for the person that is not a believer of God or Jesus
Right.
Christ,
Yeah. Let's start there first.
that's listening to you speak, they'll be like, man, get out my face with that. Like, what you telling me about God and alignment? I make my own decisions, right? I got to chart my own path. I
Right.
have to filter out how I'm going to go about making this money or whatever it is that's valuable to that person. So, what would you then say to that person that doesn't believe the way you believe? They can't be successful?
That's a good question. Um, Not all things I have answers for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what I will say is, at some point, it's good to understand why I'm saying it and trying to find out who is God first. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you got to understand who is God. You got to go to the beginning on why I am referencing this person, this spiritual being first in my life before I even start my career. The reason why, because he is the foundation of everything that I do. Now, granted, this is your life. You make all the decisions. Um, and that may work for you. Um, but for me, I can only speak of me is I did that and it never worked out. It never
You
worked
did
out.
the not God thing.
Right. I did that. I tried to do things on my own. I tried to go through life thinking that I had all the answers or I figured out I had a master plan. I did that where I felt like all I needed to do is A, B, C, and D and everything will fall into place and not incorporating God in my picture. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to say I have all the answers because I don't. And I can't speak to that person if I don't know their lifestyle or where they've been. Granted, I understand that totally hands down. But I can only speak for myself that when I tried to step out on my own, when I tried to do these things on my own, it never worked out in my favor until I made up my mind to say, you know what? I need to find out who this person, this God is. I need to really know him because right now doing it myself is not working. And I always had the foundation for my family because my dad was a pastor and still is. And, my mom is heavy into it. So I knew that I had a foundation. I just needed to go back to it. And it's okay to try things on your own until you kind of realize for yourself, like, you know what, I need to maybe see what this God person is all about first, because that's what helped me, because I didn't know God like I needed to know God back then. I heard him. I knew what he can do. I've been in certain situations, but I was young. I was too naive to understand the essence of what God can do for me going, my in my older years. So for the young person who don't know, I get it. Um,
So what's the difference though? Right? So paint that picture for us. This is when you said your priorities mixed up. Your alignment was different. And then when you finally changed what your alignment was, tell us what the difference between those
for
two
me,
lifestyles.
and like I said, I'm just speaking for me. A lot of things was different because my relationships was different. When you're trying to start in the music industry or start in the entertainment business, everything relies on relationships. Yes, I was meeting people, but the relationships that I was meeting was not long. It was not manifesting into something positive. It was always something negative. Now, um, I did have some achievements. I did have some success, but my success was measured based on uh, getting a getting one of my clients uh, signed
Signed.
by a record deal or hitting a big uh, deal at the time at that time, and I wasn't in that position to do that, right? And the relationships when I came close many times. I came close many times, but I did never go across. I never been able to go past that door. Every door that I tried to go to always closed. Now like I said, I had some really talented people, and was in some rooms with people that could have changed my life just like that. But the relationships and those agreements never expired. It never dissipated. It never came into tuition, I would say. Never came into tuition until I had to go home and kind of think, okay, what am I doing wrong? And he will tell you if you're really serious about being successful, if you're really serious about what you're trying to achieve, and open up your heart, even if you're a non-believer, God will come to you. He will answer you. If it's by coming, is by Him coming to you Himself spiritually, or He will send a messenger to you. And when I decided to sit at home and say, you know what, I can't do this by myself. Can you help me? Once I made that decision, things started to change rapidly. I never got a record deal, but I was in the rooms with people that I had established more relationships than anything. Um, to me, it's not the Barry Gordy achievement that I wanted, but it's an achievement nonetheless that I can take. I've still got relationships with these people to this very day. People that is in high positions in the music industry. So it's not sometimes, how can I say this? Sometimes you don't get to achieve what you want. But if you sit back and kind of go at it in a way that what God wants you to do, sometimes He will open doors if I can't say it like I want to say it, but sometimes He will show you achievement and sometimes He doesn't. Sometimes it's not the direction that He wants you to go. And that's what I felt with me. I found success in other areas, not in the music industry. Not to say I failed, because I didn't fail. Life for me is good now, but at the same time, at that time, I felt like I failed because I wasn't able to get that big record deal, or get my artist signed like I wanted to. But during that time, the 2008 thing happened with the real estate market crash. um, Record companies was going out of business. People was leaving the state of California at the time. It was a mess. So everything happens for a reason, I guess. I couldn't
So,
I couldn't foresee that happen. But
so here's the question: what does success mean to you?
for me, I felt success meant to me to be able to achieve what I set out to do. What I set out to do is become a music executive and run my own record company. I had artists. I had my own label. I had a producer. I had um, everyone in place to make that happen. I just couldn't get past the door to get signed. I had a great product. That was my success. My success for me would have been able to get that signed, get that, but maybe that wasn't supposed to happen for me, right? That maybe that's not the direction that I wanted to be in or should have been in. But that was, at the time, that was the success for me, to be able to be in a position where I can say, I can help Matt. I can help this person and that person because I'm in a position of influence. Now I can go in and sign people to this label under my company, or and work with them and they can release their first album. That was, to me, that was success, because that's what I intended to go to California to do in the first place. So
How has that changed now? Has it changed? And if it has, what is your definition now?
it changed a lot when 2008 happened. 2008 changed the surface of the music industry. A lot of record companies went out of business. A lot of entertainers went broke. When I say went broke, I mean literally went broke, because there was nobody touring. Records was not being released around that 2-year time period. It was almost like the COVID, to be honest with you. It was a turning point for me because I decided to go to the military um, around that time. Changed my whole career perspective, 365 degree. turn, a 360-degree turn, just to do something different, because it was all about survival. It wasn't even about trying to be successful. It was about, am I going to be able to survive tomorrow? That's how bad the 2008 crash happened thing. Success for me now is took on a whole new light, man. It took like, I was 30 something. I was pushing almost 30 around that time. So I gave almost 10 years of my life to the industry. And when you're hitting 30, success, and if you haven't achieved it at that time, it can weigh on you real hard. And so God turned me to go to the military, and I found success in other ways. I found my wife within the 2 years. I found my family and got married. I was able to get my income back to a level that I wanted to be. I was able to buy a house. I was able to do things. I saw what God has done for me, I was doing for me. And I did 6 years and got out, and I was trying to go back, and sometimes that door closes for a reason, and I wasn't able to go back, but I can sit back and say now at 40 something that no, I wasn't able to achieve my initial success in life, being a record label exec, but I was able to achieve other aspects of the industry. I got a chance to, do runway. I got a chance to, before I went to the military, I got a chance to get
You got the
people.
chance to do what? A
I got,
runway?
I got a chance to do that very short time.
You talking about airplanes?
No, I was actually able to go into the modeling aspect. Very
You
short,
talking about
very short.
fashion?
Yeah, into the fashion industry. That's before.
Okay.
Very very quick. It wasn't there long, but I was able to get other people in it too as well. Get signed to certain labels that was doing it, fashion industries. But yeah, it was an interesting path. Like I said, my path is different than yours. You know.
So,
But what about you though?
well, before you do that, check this out. Um, so here's a question: what are the percentage of successful people that are lonely? Because I got to thinking, I was like, because of my little experience that I had, I was like, well, most people synonymous with success is money, right?
Yeah, I
Money
mean
equals cars,
that's the
houses,
main
clothes.
that's the main goal in life, to have the money, of course. And, because and that's another component of success, is having the money there to live the life that people that you see on TV. The lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Well, I don't think that's a component. I think in our society, and disagree or agree if you choose, but our society says money equals success. That's how you measure your level of success, with the amount of money that's in your bank account. This is why, but here's my statistics before we go into that. So I checked, right? What percentage of successful people are lonely? It says while success and loneliness aren't intrinsically linked, but a significant number of highly successful individuals experience feeling of isolation. Some studies suggest that over 50% of CEOs report feeling lonely, and a substantial portion believe this loneliness negatively impacts their performance. This
Oh,
sense of loneliness can stem from various factors, including the demanding nature of high pressure roles, the social distance created by success,
Yeah.
and the difficulty in finding peers who truly understand the challenges of their positions.
Well, you making my point. Like, yeah, that's the that's the number one factor that people perceive what success is, but that's not always the factor. The factor of
Yeah, but who
success.
tells us that though? Like, who tells us that money is not success? Nobody tells us that.
No, it's just
I
something
don't
that
see
I mean.
nothing on TV or in schools or nothing like that that's broadcasting. Like, it's all the opposite. They're telling you, you get this bag, you can buy this car,
Okay,
you can
so
buy this house.
so my thing is this. I can go out right now and win $1 million. Would that make me successful because I won $1 million from the lottery?
Yeah,
Because that's another
according to our society.
that's a form of money, right? So if I have $1 million, I'm now successful because I got $1 million. That doesn't make me successful because I got $1 million. It just made me more of a high target because I have money now. And now because I have money, I have to put my name in the newspaper to bring other people to play the lottery because I've won this $1 million. That makes me more of a target than anything. So what I'm saying is, I'm just proving my point that yes, money do has has a place in what makes or breaks you being successful. And I mean that makes you or break you of being successful, but it's just a component of being success. It's not actually what makes you successful.
Yeah,
Yes,
but nobody tells
no,
that part.
nobody tells you. I mean, I'm not gonna. Who am I to tell you what success is? If I
Yeah,
don't
but
have,
everything. Go ahead.
if I don't, if I can't tell you anything that I have not achieved myself. So I can't sit here and say to you, you're not successful if you didn't do this. And who am I to say that who is that my place to say how successful you are or not, given your financial situation? You might have $50 in the bank right now, but to you that could be I'm long as I can breathe, long as I got my wife with me, or long as I got my kids by my side, long as I got my bills paid. And for some people, paying your bills is more success than anything. Um, if I can have food on my plate and not have to worry about what tomorrow brings or whatever the case may be, that's success for them. Now, for me, I think differently. I like, well, I get that too, but at the same time, I want to travel more. I want to do this. I want to go to my wife and say, "Hey, let's go to Dubai right now," which I won't because they tripping in Dubai. But you get my point. I want to be able to jump on and just go when I want to go. To me, that's success. For be able to be in a position to do that. I think success gives you the ability to do things that normal people, normally in same situations, does not allow you to do. I could be wrong, but I just look at it from the financial point. Yeah, if that's a component, but it's not the deciding factor what makes you successful.
Yeah, but that's you see, that's after you went through all this stuff. I know you get to hear where you are. You can look back and you can say, you know what? This is what it really means to be successful.
But
But when you talking about when you left high school, your focus was the
right, but you gotta understand that's the beginning. Of course your perception is going to change from the beginning to what it is now, from what you was at your age 20 to what you is at 30 or 40. Yes, your perception of success is going to change, but it shouldn't be all consumed about how much money you make that determines how successful you are. So
yeah. Well,
after the,
somebody should teach the kids that at high school,
they
or
should.
teach them that even in college, right? Even in college, when they teach you, like if you go to college for statistics or economics and stuff, it's all budgets, it's all money, it's all. if you want to manage a country, right, you need a certain GDP. A certain GDP would allow this country to trade and buy and sell and provide this type of infrastructure for their citizens. Even onto that scale, you talking finances. Now you have a little 18-year-old, 19-year-old coming and deciding, man, when they turn on the TV, all they see is these shiny things and jewelry and people wearing that.
Yeah.
And then they see the cars, and then they see the clothes, and then they see the trips on the private jets. And there is nothing that is explaining, right? Like you're saying, no, nah, success was we all in that same boat,
Right. But
leaving at 18, 19. So this is my question, right? My question is, if all these people, or most of them, it's at 50% of CEOs, feel lonely and isolated, for us to know enrich a better society, wouldn't it be so great for the education to be there prior to a person getting into the place where they're now going to chase what success is,
it's
so that we
going,
can
it's,
give them a better chance of finding holistic success and not just the monetary aspect of it?
it's easier said than done because every situation called every case a person has or don't have access to that information or that person or place that can give you that education of what I need to be learning about success, right? So with me, I didn't have nobody teaching me about success. My parents' ideal was success was go to school, get a job, and work till you retire. That was success for them. Okay. And whatever they did in the meantime, rent houses or whatever they was doing outside of that was a bonus. Okay. Of course, a kid that's coming out of high school, they see these things on TV and they want the same thing they see on TV. That's by nature because this is what was drilled to us when we was kids. You want to ride in a nice car? You want them Jerry? You want the lady on your shoulder? You got to be able to do this. And a lot of the kids did that, right? That was the model, right? But it's all based on your education. Who's providing that education to you? None of us had that education. So we're going to follow what we see on TV. Let
So,
me finish. Let me finish. The marketing was our education. The people that's pushing these products and pushing this way of lifestyle was our educators. It wasn't somebody that's saying, "Hey, Matt, we need to sit down for a moment. Let me teach you a little bit about success and how it really works." I didn't have that. And you're talking about 60 to 70% of people in my community growing up at the time, the same time I was 18, didn't have that. You know, it's very seldom that you have somebody that can say, yo, I want to sit down with you for me. I see you coming up. I see you doing things and I want to sit down with you because I think you need to know this because when you hit that level of being successful, you need to understand how it really works. If we had those type of people in our corner, if I had that type of person in my corner, my whole outlook and trajectory in life would have been a lot different. I promise you it would, especially at 23 when I first got to California. All right. So I knew some things, but I didn't know enough. And I let life lessons teach me a lot about success going through the journey of what's important. And that's when my alignment, I keep going back to my alignment, became more of a necessity than anything. It kind of started to make sense. And those ones that you taught, the 18-year-old that you're talking about right now, yeah, they're going to learn what they learned in the beginning. But long as they in it and understand it and be wise and be observant around the situations around them, they too will understand what's important as they go through the journey. That's the whole point about success. It's not sometimes achieving the goal at the end. It's sometimes the journey that get to the goal, what you go through, because it's life changing. It really is. Because you now understanding things that you didn't understand in the beginning. So I think that all plays a point on your journey to the end when you do raise that trophy and say, hey, we here. We finally made it. That's my idea. That's how I think. Um, it's
Yeah, I understand that's how you think as an individual, but okay, on
but
a
but
wider
but what,
scale.
but what I'm saying though, the point I'm making is if a kid didn't have this, you gonna go through life blindly. If they do have it, they do have a parent or a person that's important enough to teach them about. Then you say, the education in the beginning. Some of us don't have it. Some of us won't never have that type of access that most rich people normally have of obtaining the information that we need beforehand before we go through our journey, before we start our journey to being successful. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but even rich people, even if we're going to use that, they're no different. They just got the money earlier. They just was born into it.
Yeah,
But
but
when you talk about a holistic, right, which means you have your finance in order, you have your belief system in order, you still got your friends because
don't ride
you
with
did it right because
it.
they weren't alienated, right?
Right.
You still have a fulfilled life to share all this stuff with, and you're not getting to the isolation when, because nobody, I agree with the part you say, nobody tells us that the important things, everything in our society, everything in our society points towards one thing. This getting rich, which is synonymously with being successful. Bump the other things that nurture that success to make it really, really, truly success. There's nothing out there that's telling anybody, even adults, not just kids,
Right.
even people that are rich, even people that are born into money, are still publicizing the same thing. Now, they might be empty and lonely inside, but they're not going to say that. They're just going to still tell you, like, hey, man, you want to drive this car? You want to get this jet? You got to push it until you make 4 or 5 mil a year. You see what I'm saying?
I get that.
And this is why we are in a society now, in my opinion, where everybody is for self and nobody really cares about relationships anymore. In marriages, in families, in friendships, in co-working spaces, in colleagues, in acquaintances. Tell me when you look out at the landscape, tell me where you see that compassion or that brotherhood or that,
No.
you know what? I see you struggling over here with your bags. Let me help you put it in your cart. Simple as that. Tell me when you look out. To me, it's a decline.
Well, you're going into a different area now. You're
Not
going no, no, let me
necessarily.
finish. Let me finish. You're going into an area where you're saying now it's about what are you willing to sacrifice for success? Your friends, relationships, um, things that probably been there from you, they've been there with you from the beginning to reaching your goal in life. Um, Now, did I have sacrifices? Yeah, in relationships. Because regardless of you doing this on your own or not, you always have some form of relationship It's always going to be a relationship. It may be conspired in negativity or positivity. You're going to have some kind of meeting of the minds with someone other than yourself. And the billionaires don't make it to be billionaires by themselves. You have some kind of form of relationship with someone. So at some point in time, that concept doesn't change. Now the question is how much how much you're willing to sacrifice for that. Now, sacrificing could be defined in many ways. What's more important to you at that time? For me, it was the music industry. The industry. I didn't have family. I didn't have anybody. I didn't have kids. I didn't have spouse. So only person I would have focused on at the time was myself. And so, yeah, I had a selfish mentality because that's all I was concerned. I was concerned with myself and the people that I was trying to get into the industry. So yeah, my sacrifice was my family. I put them on a back burner until I was able to achieve my goal. But that's typical, actors, actresses that moved and relocate from small towns to California to make it thousands at a time. Every day, somebody coming in to achieve a goal to be the next big thing, right? Um, I think I told someone that was close to me, it didn't hit me until 3 years in after I relocated that damn, I actually left Florida just like that. I didn't even think about it. I just got my bag, got my ticket, out. I didn't even think twice. Now, that was on a small scale. Think about somebody who did 10 years, 20 years, and now you sitting back and you thinking like, wow, I done devoted all this time, energy, and effort trying to be successful. Some did, some didn't even make it that far. But you devoted all this time, energy, and effort. I mean, it's a crazy thing because you sacrificing time because you only thinking about reaching the goal, but you lose so much in to get there. You lose relationships with your kids or your wife if you had it. You lose relationships with your family or your friends that was close with you. And or you change people within your circle as much as success that comes to you. You change people within your circle because every relationship counts when you get closer to achieving that goal. So I've been in those situations where people look at me differently because of what I was in, what I was doing. I had to pick and choose who to talk to, who to befriend, who was actually there for my interest or to be friendly or just see what they can get from me. You have to be that way. It's almost like paranoia in a way. It's not to say that you still can't be happy, but now you have to, because of the success that you have achieved, sometimes you have to be protected of it. And that's where I was. I was more in protection mode because you don't know who's out for your interests or who they're trying to take from you. And it gets weird at the time. It gets kind of, you have to be very selective, very, very selective. I've been on both sides of the table. So I get it. How much are you willing to sacrifice? I mean, for me, I sacrificed a lot of time and I put my family in a bad for me. But I didn't hear about you yet. You haven't told me about you, but um, that's me though. I gave a lot of my time out, and that I'll never get back. But that's the most of my sacrifice. Is my time that I lost with the people that cared for me the most.
Well, we don't have time to go into me. Um,
Part two. Part two. We're gonna do a part two.
you got so much stuff going on with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But before we wrap it up, well, as we go into wrap up this one, how many of those people do you think would do it differently, knowing what they've lost and had to give up to get what they got?
Um,
Whether it's his money, whether if it's time, whether if it's people, because there's a lot of, if 50% of the people are saying that they're lonely, that means they have to give up something, and more than likely it's relationships that will make a person feel lonely. You understand?
that's the point I'm making. Is like I didn't have a solid me speaking to me, and I can't speak for Joe, Mac, John, and Bill. I can't speak for anyone else, but um, I feel that this is an intervention with me. I feel this was a topic of an intervention of me. um, but I do feel like I had to really be smart because of the moves I was making and things I was doing, relationships I was involved with. I had to be very smart under the of people that came into my life that was new. Um, because you don't know, man. You just don't know. You don't know. And you just that's when you have to put that's why I you have to put God in the mix. God has to be protecting of all things, and even when people come into your presence, it has to make a, a huge difference. Putting God first, because he can block the negativity, the people that's not in your best interest. And he can give you the wisdom to vet people when you first come in contact with them. But that is a whole nother topic and issue to speak on at another time, on how to get to know God. I guess we'll talk about that at some point in time. But that plays all into the mix of being successful. Um, there is a huge sacrifice in being success. The question is, are you willing to make that sacrifice, and is it worth it in the end? Is it worth it when you get that that record deal, or is it worth it when you get that award raised in your honor, or you get that major contract with the construction and you making millions of dollars, and now things are working in your favor, and it's when you sit home and you really put everything in perspective, was it worth it? Was it worth it? And that's the question you're going to end up asking yourself at some point in time. You're going to ask yourself, you know, was it worth the sacrifice for me to achieve what I've achieved? So, yeah.
Okay. Well, folks, that's all we got for today. Um, Again, our topic uh, that we started today is where is it? Yes. How much will I sacrifice for success? And that goes into a lot. What does it mean to you? What's your definition of success? But I hope something was said today to give a little enlightenment to those that are listening. And, leave a comment, subscribe. We'll open a dialogue about it if you got questions. We feel like if we sit and we have these conversations, we can at least understand each other, right? We might not all see eye to eye, but we might get an understanding of why a person will react or act the way they do. So this is why we believe that we're just one conversation away from changing the entire world. So rock with us. This has been another podcast, Bruz production.
For sure.
I am Jermaine.
I'm Jay.
And thank y'all for hanging out with us, man. Until the next time, enjoy your life and peace.
Love and happiness. I can't use that. I'm sorry.
Not so.